Search engine optimization lesson by RankYa. How to do on-page SEO. In this video session, I'm going to show you how you can better optimize your landing pages. Although this particular video is part of the private course available on RankYa website, I've decided to make it available for all RankYa fans, because it will help you to achieve higher Google rankings. Furthermore, I will assume that you have already watched SEO keyword research video tutorial, because within the keyword research tutorial, I've shown to you the importance of selecting the right keywords to begin targeting, because then you'll see quicker results from Google rankings. Now, each website, regardless of the type of website that one is operating, has many different landing pages. We may have About Us page, Contact page, Home page, Terms and Conditions page, Product pages, Services pages, and so on. That is why when you select the keywords, you already know which ones are more important compared to the others. Therefore, let's assume that each website has certain pages that are more important compared to others, and let's call them money-making pages. And that's what we want to rank for. Ideally, everything that we're doing should be focusing on ranking the most important pages. Moving forward, remember, it doesn't matter what type of business website that you're optimizing. On-page optimization is the same for all websites. Whether it's a blog post, whether it's a product page, whether it's a services page, and so on, okay? So what I will do, I will actually deconstruct this particular blog post as well as a different sample page, so that you get a better idea as to how you can optimize your own landing pages. Once you identify the keywords that you want to optimize the landing page for, then you begin with the URL portion. URL portion is what someone will see when they type the address into the browser. That means by just looking at this particular URL, we can kind of see what someone will experience on this landing page. Let me show you a different example. By just looking at the URL here, someone who has never visited this web page can understand what to expect on this landing page. So therefore, if a website has URL patterns like this, that doesn't make sense. But when we provide important cues to the person who's visiting our website using keywords within the URL portion, then that's going to help us to have a better optimized landing pages. Meaning you begin optimizing your landing page on the URL portion of it. Then you have title elements. That is where you can place keywords. Some content management systems do not allow you to tweak the title element. If that's the case, you should get a hold of plugins that allow you to modify the title element. At minimum, you should have target keywords. That's the minimum. I'll zoom in so that you see. That means if I wanted to target these keywords, then the title should be that too, or it should be closely related. But at the end of the day, we don't just put keywords in the title in hope that we're going to rank higher. but rather we construct the title so that it provides better user experience to someone visiting our website. Web page titles are not visible on the front end, but search engines like Google can analyze the title element when we provide it. In fact, HTML title element is actually a standard set by W3Org. So once again, we begin with including keywords in the URL because it's only logical to do so. Then we optimize the title element. As I've said, title element can have two different parts. One should be the target keywords because it's only logical. The second part can be related words to the words that you're targeting. Or you can actually be a little bit more bold as to say, let's imagine something like this, right? Or same day shipping. Let's imagine I was offering e-commerce products, then title element can have two different parts. Because what happens when Google shows its results, it may use the title element to show as a snippet. That's why crafting your titles, as in optimizing them, will increase the chances of higher click-through rate. That's why you want to spend that minute or two to optimize your web page title elements. Then you have meta description. Once again, meta description is not visible to the people who are visiting your website. But when you use it, search engines can evaluate it. And it's actually recommended by Google to provide descriptive meta description element. All you need to do to optimize it is describe the page contents, as in what will someone experience on that landing page when they visit. You can include target keywords. Furthermore, you can utilize meta description to increase your click-through rates. Moving forward, web copy is critical, and you already know how to create conversion optimized web copy, as I've taught to you in the conversion optimization course. So let's then learn something else that I haven't shared on that landing page. Let's look at what we're seeing on the screen right now. That's just plain old text, right? Now, we could easily leave our web pages with just writing what we offer, or product descriptions, and so on. But your website is on internet. It uses HTML. And HTML is a language that browsers, search engines can evaluate. If that's the case, you have tools available to you. Looking at the same web copy by optimizing HTML elements. As we can see, by using HTML heading 1 tag, that heading 1 looks different compared to this one here. This is just plain old text with no HTML optimization. And this is optimized version using simple HTML tags. Heading 1 is important. Heading 2 is also important. In fact, every single word, every single comma, every single full stop that you use on your website is important, both in terms of Google rankings and also higher conversions. But as I've said, you have tools available to you, and you can utilize underline, strong tags, bold tags, emphasize, italic, and different HTML elements. Let's imagine you were a small business owner offering local businesses. You could have easily typed your address using plain old text, as in this example, or you could have utilized HTML5 address element, and all of a sudden your address element describes your address. Search engines like Google can then evaluate that accordingly. When you underline certain important keywords you want to rank for, what you're doing is you're taking them out of the document flow. If I am underlining an important keyword, then what I'm saying is in that block of text, that particular keyword is more important compared to the one next to it or one before it. Now, just because you have options for HTML elements such as underline or strong tags and so on, does not mean you just have to keep using them to highlight your important target keywords. Because what's more important is optimizing landing pages for higher conversions. That means if I end up using HTML tags, they need to flow within the web communication. And only when it makes sense to highlight certain elements, that's when I should do it. Okay? Because sometimes, let's imagine this scenario. Services for you as our valued customer. Let's imagine that word I had on that text block. Then it's perfectly okay for me to underline that maybe. Or I could emphasize that maybe. Not necessarily the target keywords. Okay? Just realize that in terms of search engine optimization, you have HTML elements for you to persuade Google to better understand certain keywords. As I've said, heading tags look like this. Heading 2 looks like this. Heading 3 looks like this. Most content management system visual editors will allow you to quickly change headings. Also, let me show you a trick that not many people will be able to share with you to make this video session worthwhile. Let's imagine this text here, which is heading 2. And let me do something like this. Let me say font size. Let's make it drastic, 7 rem. And that's now calculated as 112 pixels. You can use sizes to let search engines to place higher weight to certain elements. Now, this is a heading 1 tag. On a web page, well, you should definitely be using heading 1s at minimum. Now, if your content allows you to chunk it down and it's logical to place heading tags, then perhaps you can go and say, okay, heading 1 is about a specific target keywords or a subject matter. Then you can say, how about heading 2? Let me break that up. Let me break the content up. But this particular size element here, that makes a difference when Google evaluates web pages. Why? Because you've highlighted a text to be large. That means you're providing more information, as in more weight to that element. Meaning, here's the thing, right? Even heading 1, if I say font size, let's say 14 pixels, and let's make that important. Okay, now look how small that text is, right? 14 pixels. Now that's heading 1. But this is heading 2, and that's 112 pixels. Now, in terms of Google ranking calculations, when Google analyzes this web page, although heading 1s send a stronger signal for rankings, I've just made my heading 2 more important by using sizes. So you can do that too. Now that's a RankYa trade secret you now possess. Okay. On top of HTML elements, you have access to when optimizing landing pages. You can also utilize sizes. Now, for higher Google rankings, your focus of attention should be creating web copy, as in your content, for real people, not for Google. You already know the target keywords. You already know where to place them in the URL portion, title, description, in heading 1, heading 2, and so on. And surely, whatever page that you're creating and want to rank for, it's going to naturally include the target keywords. And you also know the HTML elements for you to place more importance on those keywords by using them. Now you also know the RankYa trade secret in terms of the sizes. Now what's next? Well, whatever page that you're creating, you create for people, right? That's what we do. And once we have that mentality, what else can we do? Well, if we have images, then we can optimize images. And when we optimize images, we simply use some keywords if the image is related to the content that we're creating. That means if this image was not related to anything to do with search engine optimization, then I wouldn't name that as such. This is very important because most people get this wrong, right? So that means I shouldn't be doing something like this. SEO tutorial by RankYa or search engine optimization tutorial. Just because I want to rank for this doesn't mean I should be naming my images with target keywords. I should only do so when it's appropriate. And yet, I should still focus on image optimization. In 2021, Search Console page experience being important, we should have images correctly sized and also use compression. There are many tools available on internet that allow you to compress your images. All you need to do is upload the image, compress it, and then publish it on your landing pages, because that's going to affect your Google rankings. Okay. Let's look at this particular image. As you can see, I did utilize certain keywords because the image element is appropriate also. HTML image alt attributes can be utilized according to the image that you have. Alt attributes should extend the meaning of the image, and when appropriate, you should include some keywords. Alt attributes are indexable by Google. Furthermore, you can also utilize title attribute on images as well. As we can see, when someone hovers over the image, the title element shows up. Alt attributes provide better accessibility. As a result, better user experience that Google also evaluates. Your landing pages, all of them should have clear call to actions. Where can you place call to actions? That will depend on the type of website you're operating. But having clear call to actions is better than not having them. So now you can see the simplicity of optimizing landing pages. Now, since some pages are more important, then how can I make this page be more important than this one? That is why we had to do our keyword research. That means looking at this, let's say about SEO. Let's take that as an example. Let's copy this money making page as an example and let's link towards it. Now I've just used link pointing that text towards this URL. If I preview the changes so that I can show you, so that's a link now. When someone clicks on it, they'll end up going here. But search engines like Google also evaluate links, and since links are very important, you can use them for optimizing your landing pages. Pointing links towards your money making pages as your website grows will allow you to rank your money making pages. That's why you need to utilize links. When you do, it's only logical to use important keywords. So instead of saying about SEO, instead of saying that, I could say, okay, how about WordPress SEO? Let's imagine that. Since keywords are critical for Google rankings, because that's what you target and you work towards ranking, right? So in this example, about WordPress SEO is more meaningful because you have to think of what's on the other side of the link. In this example, it's WordPress SEO. It's not Shopify SEO. Make sense? So what if I've done this? I said click here and then link to that landing page just to demonstrate the importance. Click here. Yeah, okay, that may make sense. You may actually use it. It's okay. But we're talking about Google rankings. When we want to rank higher, we need to use keywords correctly. And internal linking allows you to use certain keywords. Okay? Now, the more links you point towards a particular page will make that page be more important compared to others on your website. That's why we had to select the keywords correctly. That's why we had to select the long tail keywords as well, because we want to point them towards our money making pages. So that is how you optimize landing pages. First, you select the keywords, then utilize keywords within the URL, then craft your title, then describe the page using some keywords. But at the end of the day, you have to describe the page instead of just including keywords in there. Then you have access to HTML elements, including certain tags. Then you optimize your images, including alt attributes. Then you utilize internal linking pointing towards your money-making pages. That is how simple it is to optimize your landing pages. Remember, in 2021, page experience being important, you should definitely consider using images with the right size according to the element, web page element, whatever the area. You can see the computed value. That is how big the image width should be. And then compress it without losing quality and use compressed images. If you're utilizing WordPress, there are many plugins that allow you to compress images, but I would suggest to you, especially if you're a local business owner or a small business owner, to compress images before you upload and publish them instead of using plugins, especially for WordPress, because each time you upload an image, WordPress creates many different sizes. Actually, before I close up, let me show you a function. I'll zoom in and then you see. You can remove image sizes for WordPress, okay, by using this function here, and only blurt out one image that's responsive and load it using lazy load. That's a CSS function. It could be tricky if you don't understand HTML, all that stuff, but there are many plugins that only load images when it's visible in the viewport. So when optimizing landing pages for images, you can definitely compress them, use keywords within the file name when it's appropriate to do so, use alt attribute, as well as load it differently, because that's going to improve page load times. And that's exactly what Google wants in 2021 moving forward. I thank you very much for learning with RankYa, and I'll talk with you in the next video session.